Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today, and on behalf of the men and women of the Grand Rapids Fire Department and the City of Grand Rapids, we welcome you to our station renaming of the Franklin Firehouse to the Martin Luther King Jr. Firehouse. And so we're very, very thankful that you could be here with us today. So I'd like to thank the men and women of this station who have assisted in preparation for this event, as well as Assistant Chief Brown, Michael Curtis, and Rich Moore, who helped to create the rack card that you'll see that is on your chairs. They were able to dig up some very interesting information in our history, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But I'd also like to recognize our people that are going to be speaking with us today. Mayor Bliss, Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner Robert Womack of Kent County, City Manager Mark Washington, Lupe Ramez Montani, Co-Chairman of the March Committee, and Dr. Calvin Johnson, President of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators. All of these folks will be addressing us this afternoon, but I'd also like to thank the men and women of the Grand Rapids Fire Department that are in attendance, as well as the City of Grand Rapids staff and all of our other community members that are here today with us. So I would like to invite Mayor Bliss up if she could offer a few words to open us up. Thank you.
Thank you. I am so delighted to be able to join you, really to just welcome everyone to this historic day in our community. And I'm going to add a thanks to our amazing Chief Lehman. We are so grateful for his leadership. I'm delighted to be here with so many of our firefighters who are a part of this incredible department, and really for all of them stepping up to make this happen. So I just want to say thank you to Chief and his incredible leadership. And today really is an exciting day, and it's a day of celebration as we celebrate the changing of the name from Franklin Street Firehouse to Martin Luther King Jr. Firehouse. And truly this is a culmination, I would say, and I would say the impact of a lot of the work that's been done for years in our community, a lot of work that's been done by the March Committee. And so today is a celebration also of their incredible work. We were together just recently as we celebrated the street name changes, and now we come together once again to celebrate this firehouse change. So I want to personally thank my colleague, Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner Womack, Lupe Ramez Montani, you're amazing. Thank you for all of the work you've done in our community. And then I'm also really delighted to be joined by Dr. Jameson from the NFBPA. So it was so coincidental that we get to host the NFBPA forum here in Grand Rapids and that he could join us to be a part of this celebration. And then just in closing, you know, this change really marks not just a historic milestone, but really an inclusive milestone in our city's history as we continue to work to being a more just, equitable, and inclusive community, not only for our current residents, but truly for our generation, the generations to come, residents to come, every single individual that will call Grand Rapids home, not just today, but really in the future. So I'm delighted to be here, really to just be a part of this celebration and to be a part of this incredible group. But really the hard work has been done by so many other people in this room. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now we ask if the City Manager, Mark Washington, could come up and give a few words.
Thank you, Chief Lehman, and to all of you who are gathered here today. It is a great day for our city. It is a great day for the Grand Rapids Fire Department. And it's a day that would not happen if it were not for, first of all, the incredible sacrifice that Dr. King himself made as a champion for all humanity. But secondly, it would not be possible if it were not for the effort that was led by our March Committee, whom you will hear members speak shortly, in helping us to rethink how we name our city street. And I too appreciate the work of our City Commission in voting to approve that change, as well as all the staff that made it possible. I see staff members here today, but I am especially proud of the fire department, of the members of this station and the chief, as I understood, that recognize the importance of being equitable in how we name fire stations and making sure that the momentum that was created by the street renaming carried into the operations of the Grand Rapids Fire Department. And what I am most encouraged by is that this is not just something that is embraced externally about how the station is named, but I can see the transformation even internally with how you embrace it inside the station, with the words from Dr. King noted on the banner that's hanging before us. I noted how you embrace it with the station, with the history, as is noted in the program. And as I began to think about this moment, there are some similarities between Dr. King and firefighters. Now, physically, firefighters put their lives at risk every single day, suppressing fires, battling structures, and saving lives. But I would also offer in a different social way that Dr. King likewise fought a lot of fires in our country. He too put himself in harm's way in making sure that he could save the life of not only the people, but the life of our country. He too rescued us from our own selves as we found ourselves treating members of our community unfair and unjustly. And so I appreciate the life-saving efforts of both the firefighters, but also the life-saving efforts of what it means to be an inclusive community, to value all members of our community and quality of life. And I think this will pay dividends as we continue to try to recruit people to come to work for the City of Grand Rapids and the fire department to show them how inclusive we are, how unique we are as a city. In our research, I have not found another fire station in the country that is so named after the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I want to applaud the Grand Rapids Fire Department for leading the way. I also can't say enough how this would not be possible without two determined people walking in my office shortly after my appointment, telling me how they were too determined that we would be able to change the name of Franklin Street. Then we didn't have a street designated, but we would have a street designated in our city to be named after Martin Luther King Jr. So I want to thank Commissioner Womack and Lupe for their brave efforts in helping, and likewise, as the mayor indicated, our Commissioners Lanier and Nasasi, and all the commissioners for championing the way. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Manager Washington. The history and traditions in the fire service run very deep. They're very important to us and our members, and so it's interesting as we look at what's happening here today and how it fits within our history and tradition. So again, I give thanks to our historian, Rich Moore, and Michael Curtis for helping us to better understand some of those things that happened in our history that relate to what's happening here today. And that would be that in the fire department, we have what are called companies. And companies operate within each firehouse throughout the city, and we have 11 of those firehouses. And companies are designated by numbers. And so, for example, behind me here is Platform 2, and Platform 2 is the company number 2. And in our history of the fire service in general, that is how firehouses are named. So it's Station 1 that has companies number 1 and Engine 1 and Squad 1, or it would be Truck 3 and Engine 3 would be at Station number 3. And across the country, that's typically how that's done. The unique thing about this fire station that we're sitting in today is that in 1979, the culmination of 3 different firehouse closings and the reorganization of the fire department led to the change in the way that we name our fire stations. And that's because we took an engine house on Madison that was Engine 7, and we closed that down. And we took another company from Engine Company 10, a training company, and we took a company from Truck 2 over on, over on Hall Street, and we closed that station down, and they combined into this facility that we stand in today in 1979. Now, what's interesting about that is that the discussion, I can only imagine, and I'm thankful I wasn't chief at the time, was among all those different company members deciding what that station number was going to be, because they all came from different areas, and you can't call it station, 7, 10, 2. And so they decided that they were overall going to change the way we name firehouses across the entire city. So interestingly enough, the history that started that tradition in the fire service for naming our firehouses on the street that they lay happened right here at this station in 1979 as a result of its construction, and here we are today renaming the station as a result of the change in the name of the street that happened. Another significant tie is that our first African-American firefighter that worked for the city of Grand Rapids, Mr. King, was his last name, and he served at this station when those stations were combined. And he also had ties in the history of what is civil rights. He was a direct relation to Malcolm X. He was the first cousin to Malcolm X. And so that was also discovered in our history, and that's located on your rack card that you have in your possession. So those interesting things come, and we embrace this as another tradition in our firehouse. But it's also important that you understand that there were many firefighters since 1979 that knew this as Franklin Street Fire Station. And that is part of our history as well. But that is not in keeping with that history and tradition and memorializing that, in no way, shape, or form takes away from the fact that we now know this as Martin Luther King Jr. Fire Station. So I'd also like you to understand that Franklin Street, the street that we were renaming from, came in 1912 from the godson of a commissioner. As a baptismal present, they offered that renaming of that street up for this grandson of a commissioner. And I just wondered to myself how easy that would be to happen today. If that were to be a conversation today, that would not be an easy conversation, I don't think. So this also, as the city manager mentioned, will be the first fire station in the nation, as far as we can tell, that has ever been named for Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The banner that we have in the station is representative of what we believe to be true. The truck or platform we have sitting behind us here, I would ask you, as you are able to, at the end of the ceremony, get up and take a look at the front of the platform truck. And on that piece of equipment, we have the station designation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., just as we did for Franklin Street Station. Commissioner Womack was surprised when I told him when we're done speaking here today, we're going to step right out the front door and we're going to unveil the name that's already on the front of the station. And he said, usually it takes forever for things to get renamed. But we don't work that way in the firehouse. We're here to serve. And so I'd like to conclude by just saying we continue to work daily on creating a more welcoming culture which strives to employ a diverse workforce, more representative of the communities we serve. And we truly want to be able to do that, and we work daily to try and accomplish that. Thank you again for everybody being here. And at this time, I would ask if Commissioner Lanier would be able to come up and give us a couple of words.
Thanks, Chief, for welcoming us to this firehouse and to provide opportunity to give words. Is it morning or afternoon? Good afternoon. That's the way my day has gone. I don't even know what time it is. Good afternoon. I'm Sunita Lanier, and I have the privilege of serving as the 3rd Ward Commissioner for the City of Grand Rapids. And I am also a member of the March Committee, where the Honorable Lupe Ramos-Montani is co-chair, as well as Commissioner Robert S. Womack, who you'll hear from later. Signs are powerful and without a spoken word, send messages. Sometimes it's with direction, think traffic signs, or oppression, think Jim Crow. Today, it symbolizes solidarity. Think the MLK honor with it being named the MLK Fire Station right here in the city of Grand Rapids. This, as the chief has mentioned and others, that this is a historic moment, and it's a historic moment in so many ways. The March Committee renamed 2 streets, Franklin Street to Martin Luther King Jr. and Granville to Cesar E. Chavez. And it's historic in that those 2 streets cross, and we believe that in the state of Michigan, well, in the nation, we're the largest city to have those streets, 2 street names to cross. In the state of Michigan, I think we're 2nd or 3rd, city manager, to have those streets to cross. And so it's historic in that way. But March, we stand on the shoulders of so many who have worked for decades for street renaming, for Franklin as well as the street renaming for this street Granville. There's so many who aren't even with us any longer who worked on committees to try to get those renamings and were successful in getting commemorative signs. So a lot of work has gone into this for many decades. And I'd like to personally thank Commissioner Womack for your efforts, you and the rest of the committee of the MLK committee, and Lupe for you and the committee as well for all of the work you've done over the number of years. I'll close with just thanking the City Commission for its unanimous vote back in October for the street renamings. I'll also thank all of you at this firehouse and for the fire department who was instrumental in this renaming, and thank you to the chief for hosting this program. I'll also like to thank in her absence Commissioner Isasi for all of her work as well on the March Committee. And finally, thanks to the GRFD for helping us with a display of unity, dedication, and responsiveness. And now I'm ready because it's time to pull the grill out and put some steaks on it so we can have some dinner in the MLK Fire Station. I'll be looking for the invite. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and we'll invite you back soon. At this time, I would like to ask if co-chairman of the March Committee, Lupe Ramos Montani, if she could come up and please address the group.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. My heart is full this afternoon. This is one historical day. Cesar once said, once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. And today I say to you, the March Committee had a dream. Today we wake up from that dream to dedicate the naming of the firehouse right here on 115 Martin Luther King Jr. Street. We are spreading the history of this remarkable civil rights hero, not for the moment, but for generations to come. From this fire station, firefighters risked their lives to take care of dangerous situations. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was also called to take care of dangerous social situations, and he tirelessly worked to end the plight of poverty and the integration of people who could not represent their own life challenges. His I Have a Dream from the March on Washington and I've Been to the Mountaintop will continue to inspire new generations. Today I say thank you to the City of Grand Rapids, the City Commission, Mayor Bliss, our City Manager, Washington, the Grand Rapids Fire Department, and the residents for keeping hope alive. So I say,
Attention to 11-840 Dorchester Avenue Southwest. 0 Justin Jones.
dangerous situations. I say thank you for keeping hope alive. It is remarkable situation, remarkable day that will be instilled in our hearts for generations to come. And like Cesar Chavez said, sí se puede. Yes, we can.
This is a busy firehouse. That wasn't played up for you. So at this time, I would also ask if we could have the co-chair from the March Committee, Commissioner Womack from Kent County, come up and address us.
Thank you, thank you. I definitely want to thank Chief Lanier for all of his work that he's done since he's become the chief. I want to thank all of the members of the fire department, because whenever you rename something, people ask you what's the significance. I can tell you this is a very proud moment for me and the community, because if you didn't serve so well, we wouldn't be so happy to see this fallen civil rights leader's name on this fire station. So please give our fire department and staff an applause. They've done a wonderful job. Definitely want to thank my co-chair, Lupe Montani, for all of her work with us on this, and especially Commissioner Lanier for her unifying efforts to bring so many people together, not only different committees, but bringing members of the city together to help us get across a finish line that started a long time ago. Dr. Martin Luther King said, faith is taking that first step when you can't even see the whole staircase. So when I first came to the City Commission, maybe almost 20 years ago, I never thought that it would be so much opposition. I thought most people knew the importance of this Nobel Peace Prize winner in the life and times of Dr. Martin Luther King and were being thought to join the board. But I learned as those committees before us that spearheaded the Martin Luther King street signs, that even in the new millennium, it was still a fight, a hill to climb. But times are changing, generations are changing. The City Commission this time votes from all, so I just want to thank our City Manager, Mark Washington, who promised us on his first day he would do all that he could to help us get this done. Our Mayor, Rosalyn Bliss, and all of our commissioners that did vote for it. Lou Canfield, because we worked him to death. You don't know him, but give him an applause, because we really worked Lou. and to this day, people are still working Lou. So we're just very proud to know that not only do we have one of the only places, if not the only place in the United States of America here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where Cesar E. Chavez Street meets Dr. Martin Luther King at an intersection, we have the first and only Dr. Martin Luther King fire station in the nation. Let's give it up for our fire station. I can keep this very brief by calling up a friend of mine who's also part of the MLK committee. D, could you come stand with me for a second? And I want you to turn around right there. When you get here, I want you to turn right around. This is a shirt I designed with MLK. And when I see the young people always say, what's it for? What does changing the name really mean? When I see young people wearing that shirt, I know my time on earth is going to be limited. But when they look at my work, young people in the community, and understand one of the biggest things I was a part of was bringing the Dr. Martin Luther King Street name change to Grand Rapids. It's not about me. It's about peace. When we see this, we want everybody to know he didn't just die for us. He died for the human race. He didn't die for one race. Because when we're fighting, nothing good can come out of that for anybody. You cannot keep somebody on the ground without getting on the ground with them. We can only rise here in America together. When we see Dr. Martin Luther King and when you see the young people wearing that shirt in our neighborhood, you should understand that we understand the blueprint for success is not violence. The blueprint for success is not bloodshed. Just like me and Lupe working together, the blueprint for success is communication and collaboration. The blueprint for success is for all of us to find those common threads that unite us as the human race instead of those small things that divide us. Dr. Martin Luther King, he did not die for nothing. Seeing his name on this building for people who are following in his footsteps, because we have lost firemen who have died for people they don't even know. We have seen them run into homes that, no disrespect to our own family members here in America, that your own family members would say it's too hot to go in there and get my family member. We've seen them run in there for strangers, and we're very happy when they come out alive, but they don't always come out alive. So we have people who are still dying to make America a better place. And when you see us wearing his name, being on this fire station, being on this fire truck, as proud as we are to have his name on that fire truck and on this building, we're equally as proud because you serve us well. And we know that we will never be ashamed of having Dr. Martin Luther King's name on this fire station. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate your support. At this time, I would ask if we could have Dr. Calvin Jameson, the president of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. And to use a statement that one of my colleagues said one time, it says, everything that needs to be said has been said, but everybody that needs to say it ain't said it. All right, so I'm gonna start this process by saying how excited we are on behalf of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators to be here in Grand Rapids, to be here this day to help you dedicate this. And Chief, early on, he called me Calvin Johnson. Now, that's because Johnson played for Detroit. and I understand the dynamics behind it. I'm a former quarterback. I would have thrown to Johnson, but Johnson played for Detroit. But I'm happy to say that that's the case there. I'm going to stop from a perspective to say this. I am presently the president of the NFPPA, but I'm also the vice president at the University of Texas at Dallas and former city manager of Richmond, Virginia. I can't say enough about how I feel about, first, our firefighters, because you're not afraid to run in when no one else will. You're going to be responsive. So I can't say enough about the work you do, the role you play, and the likes. So for you to step up today to do this means a lot to all of us who go through this process. Secondly, I can't say enough about jewels that you have in Mayor Bliss and City Manager Mark Washington, the dynamic duo I call them. They bring an energy to Grand Rapids that I can't even imagine trying to duplicate anywhere else in the country. A couple years ago, pre-COVID, we visited Grand Rapids on one of our summer meetings. And then they said, we'd love to have NFPA come back to Grand Rapids. Well, they made us feel so at home that we made a decision to select Grand Rapids to come back and spend this next rest of this week doing. And as a result of that, Mark did everything was great except for one thing. He promised us absolute great weather. When I left Dallas, it was 85 degrees. But having said that, the warmness that they have overshadowed everything we could even imagine. And that's why this day is so very special for Grand Rapids itself, to have something of this nature. For the over 600 plus delegates who are going to be here, attendees, and for the over 40 chapters in 36 states that we have all over the country, people are coming to Grand Rapids to see what you have here. And you don't realize how unique an entity you have here with the people overall. And the commissioners and Lupe and all you guys who work on the front lines to make things happen, that's what makes for a special community, that communication you have. And Chief, you got to be special to step up and do the things that you're trying to do overall. I want to leave you with a thought about how to think about M.L. King and what he was able to provide for all of us. You know, I grew up in a small town down in Virginia, Martinsville, Virginia, where we had race cars and bootleggers. That's how race car got started. And along the way, I learned a lot of things that were important. And one of the things I learned was that you need to be able to talk about how you can make a difference in the lives of the people you interface with. And I had a grandmother who said to me, she said simply this, as a grandson, one who lost his mother at an early age, etc., you have, on your tombstone, you have 2 dates. That's when you enter this earth and when you leave. But you know what she said? The most important part of the tombstone is the dash. So what difference are you making? So with generations after this, when they come back and they look at what happened here on this date, this time in history, they're going to look at Grand Rapids. They're going to say, Grand Rapids stepped out, and they said that MLK, what he did, like firefighters, he didn't run from the fire, he ran into the fire like you guys did, like Mark mentioned before. And he's going to say he made a difference. So you're going to look back one day and you're going to say, Grand Rapids, and personally, you ask yourself, how's your dash? What difference did you make? And then did you leave something better than you found it? Thank you so much for allowing me an opportunity to bring greetings to you today. We welcome you to be a part of our conference, to come by to say hello. And I want to say to the citizens of Grand Rapids, you guys are absolutely lucky to have the kind of leadership team you have here, and we're happy to be a part of it today. Thank you so much.
So I'd like to conclude by saying thank you very much to everybody for being in attendance. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day. And I would like to also say that this kind of work does not get done by an individual. We are a team here, and I have a great executive staff as well as a great team of firefighters that represent the city of Grand Rapids, and we all work together in order to accomplish the things that we do. I'd also like to thank, the March Committee and all the people that did the heavy lifting to get us to this point. And we're simply just following suit by putting the name on the station and making that dedication, but it's not lost how significant that is. Lastly, I'd like to say thank you to those city staff members that also did a lot of hard work on the background, to Mr. Canfield, to Eric DeLong, and all the other city staff that helped to assist with everything that went into this. And I would ask you, again, take a look at the front of the platform truck and take some pictures in front of that. We're going to cool this place off for about less than 2 minutes. We're going to open that door. I'm going to ask if you can't just exit out that door. We've got a couple tents set up. I don't think it's raining too bad, but we're going to go ahead and take the name, the cover off the name, and then we can come back in and have some refreshments. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate everybody being here, and have a great day.
stand on each side of it?
Y'all move from the lane. Get back a little bit. Back up some more. Back up a little more. Yeah. Commissioner Lanier, you need to come to the front, to the middle right. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, and let him back up a little bit. We can't see. We're still missing the junior. Can't see the junior. There we go. There you are.
Okay.
I'm still involved with it. And then I fell down at the African American Museum.
Yeah. Good. Wonderful.
What church you go to?
Wonderful.